Good morning. How are you this morning? Welcome to the Truly Myrtle podcast. I'm Libby, and this is my weekly live podcast that beams out onto Facebook and YouTube every single Thursday at the same time, 10 o'clock New Zealand time. I'm based down here in New Zealand. I'm a knitwear designer. I design patterns for Truly Myrtle. That's my brand. I've been designing patterns for about 10 years. I hope you can't hear the wind. It's really windy right now. I might have to shut my door. I've been designing patterns for about a little bit more than 10 years, knitting patterns. And in the last 5 or so years, I launched Wardrobe Toolbox, which is the place to come if you want to figure out how to make your knits fit you. It's just a lovely knitting community. It's like an online club. The doors are closed at the moment, but they will open again at some point this year. They'll open again in October. Just the very end of September, early October for an October start. I know a lot of you are inside Wardrobe Toolbox, and it is lovely to have you here. Oh, good, today. Yay! I can see all your comments. I couldn't see any of your comments last week, and then something weird happened, and I finished the podcast, but it didn't finish on YouTube, and it was still going, and it was so strange. I don't know what happened, so I've relaunched all the software, and here we go again. I have to have a sip of tea. Hi, Marianne. Nice to see you. It's lovely to see you all. Hi, Kim and Diane. I can see you all here, and Becky and Yona. Some of you I saw yesterday in our Wardrobe Toolbox knit night. It was a really good knit night yesterday, wasn't it? I had so much fun. It went for how long did we go for? About 2.5 hours, I think. They're always long, the sessions, but people can just dive in and out. And if you want to have a chance at saying what you're talking about, you can jump on. We had quite a few people in their pajamas, although they put on sweatshirts. You wouldn't have known you in your pajamas, but in their pajamas, someone was watching from bed. So it was a really big get together yesterday too. It was so much fun. Another rainy, windy day in Canterbury. Perfect knitting weather. Oh, I know. Yay, Catherine. It's your second live this week. Yes, you were there yesterday. It's horrible in Christchurch. Oh, Lisa thinks it's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, you're inside. Oh, I hope your husband's okay, Lisa. The weather has turned in Melbourne, and it's a very wet day in Christchurch. Oh, the knitting list grew. I know. It was really inspiring. It's always inspiring getting together with people. And it's quite funny. I was saying to my mum yesterday afternoon, we had Stephen West come to the masterclass last week, and I think a lot of toolboxes are taking his ideas about having 10 projects on your needles quite seriously. It seems like we've got lots of people with lots of things on their needles. Oh, Yona, you couldn't fall asleep last night. You were so excited about knitting and new projects. I know that feeling. Oh, it was really fun. Yona, you're a cracker, says Diane. I know, it was really good. You have a stitch and pitch. So Yona talked about something they do in New York. Was it in New York? Yona, or do you have to go somewhere else? I can't remember. She said they have something called stitch and pitch. I had never heard of anything like this. And you go along to a ball game and they arrange for people to go. I don't think it's everybody at the ball game, is it? Or is it? But anyway, you all go along to the ball game and take your knitting or your stitching or whatever it is, I guess, that you're working on. And you watch the ball game, and you're all there together. It's a bit like the movie nights that you can have, the knitting movie nights, I guess. And I just thought that sounded like so much fun. And Diane's saying they have it where she is as well. So no one ever wants to go with you, Diane. Oh my gosh, in Southern California. If anyone wants to go to the stitch and pitch with Diane in Southern California, you just let me know and I'll make sure you can get in touch. Oh, yay. Now, before I go any further, Barbara, you reminded me, I need to tell you that right now, the doors are open. The tickets are on sale. It's 10:05 my time. If you need to dive away for a couple of minutes and come back, that's fine. But the people who are coming to Knit August nights in August, if you want to get in the classes, you want to go over there now because it's time, right? It's time. I'm going to tell you where to go. You're going to Knit August Nights, all one word, .co.nz. The doors. I have doors. These are tickets. The ticket sales started 6 minutes ago. It's now 6:10. So if you're watching this later, then obviously it's already been, and hopefully there are some still spots available. But I'll tell you about mine. I'm doing 2 classes this time. I just thought I wouldn't go nuts. I would spend more time chatting to everybody, I think, this time. And so I'm doing 2 classes only. And one is Bust Boost. And that's the one all about everything to do with shaping from about here to the bottom, right? All of this shaping, because we do look at vertical darts, and so you can use those, to create shaping for your tum as well as your hips and your bust. So it's all about bust shaping. It's for anyone who has a bit of a bust, really. You might find some of these techniques really helpful, but particularly people who find that their top's right up at the front, or the buttons want to burst open, or you make things to fit your full bust and you're just swimming in them at the top. Particularly for you, you're going to find this a really helpful session. So that's my one on the Friday. So you want to look at stream 1, and then on Saturday morning, stream 3 is my second one, and that is, Marie's called it Colour Theory for Knitters. It is Colour Theory for Knitters, but I actually had quite a jazzy name, which was like pop, bang, whiz, something like that. Clash was in there. And that I taught that class recently when I went to Rangiora, and I told you all about it. And I had my colour wheels I showed you last week. That was a fun class. It's lots in that class. I think you'll find it hugely inspiring. We talk about ways to put colours together, giving you some of the lingo and some of the tried and true ways of putting colours together, but also just exploring different ways to do things and how you might take your project in a different direction. So that one is Saturday morning. There's a whole lot of others. There's things like two-handed stranded. There is also, before I say that, the day before, on the Thursday the 28th of August, this is the last weekend in August, the Thursday before, Ethan is running a full day masterclass, and so you can join in that. Obviously there are very limited tickets, but you can go to a full day masterclass and then dinner that night with Ethan, and it's called Behind the Floats. And so he's doing a deep dive into all things stranded knitting. You know Ethan. I mean, for those of you who don't know Ethan, you will know Ethan after that. He has so much knowledge around knitting. He's really inspiring to get you wanting to just learn all the techniques and do things beautifully. So that class looks fantastic. I already know someone that's signed up for it, or is signing up for it. So jump over there now if you want to get into the masterclass too. Then there's a bunch of other classes on both Friday and Saturday, morning and afternoon. Things like Finish Like a Pro. There's I think this is a new spinning one called Fun with Silks, because Annette did a really good one last year, which I think is the improv spinning. I can't remember which of those. I think it was improv spinning last year. Oh no, not improv spinning. Maybe this is a new one from Annette. Fun with Silks. So I'm getting confused because there's another one, improv spinning. Anyway, there's some spinning ones. There's a mending class. If you want to learn how to make your own hat designs, there's a class about that. There's double knitting class. Learn how to strand with 2 hands. Now, if you're going to the master class, a couple of Ethan's classes, they're the ones with a star. Those are a little bit of he's divided the masterclass into smaller chunks, so you can pick those up. So you probably don't want to do them again unless you really loved it and you really do want to do it again. He's also got his greatest hits. That would be a good class, actually. That's at the same time as my colour class. Photography for knitters, knitted textures. There's a mending class, disaster management, edges, and embroidery on your knitting. It's a really good lineup of classes. I have to have a sip of tea. I've got my frog back. It's a really good lineup of classes, and there's also on Saturday night there's an event. I think it only costs about $9 to go to the event, and it's a panel show this time. I'm on the panel for the panel show, and it's Ethan and me so far, and Marie, and maybe Lisa will join us. And I wonder if it's going to be like a seamed showdown. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Apparently it was my idea, which I heard Marie say, so it may well have been my idea when I wasn't thinking straight. Anyway, that's Saturday night. Sunday morning is the market, and so you can have access to the market all weekend if you're in Knit August Nights, if you come to the event. And it's like a small group of traders. They're there all the time. You can sit around them, you can ooh and ah, go back, and I think, by the end of the weekend you just have so many piles of things that you want. So it's really fun. The door's open right now. I think it's worth signing up to their mailing list. So if you go to knitaugustnights.co.nz and jump on the mailing list, then you will be notified about all things to do with Knit August Nights. And I know that Marie has started a new podcast, and she runs Knit August Nights, and she has a podcast called The Sable Society, and Sable is / acquisition beyond life expectancy. And the Sable Society, she's had 2 episodes so far. Marie has done like 1 million podcasts, video podcasts already when she was working with Skeins, but she's not now. She's turning her focus to this. So she is doing the Sable Society. So it's the same old podcast. If you guys are familiar with the other one, it's same old Marie. It's really good. And I know that she's got yarn, and I've actually already bought some, and I'm going to show you when it arrives, because I really love some of it. So I bought it, and it's on its way to me apparently, so I can't wait to show you that. So yeah, anyway, sign up to a mailing list. That's what I wanted to say. It is now 10:12. It was pretty good, 6 minutes. So if you head over there now, you can always come back and chat to me over here once I'm done. Oh, hi, Daria from Poland. It's nice to see you. My dad's family are all from Poland originally. Originally, 18-something, they moved out here. I've told that story on my podcast years ago, but they moved first to London and then down to New Zealand. They're a bunch of brothers. They were from north in Poland, from, I'm going to get it wrong now. I want to say Lublin. I think it is, but they went down south to Krakow to get out. Anyway, I've been to Poland. I really enjoyed it. Hi, Becky. Yeah, Stephen West was so much fun. Amanda had actually reduced her number of whips, and then we all were exposed to Stephen West's crazy ideas, and now she's building them up again. So that's good. I'm glad to see that. Oh, and Yona's telling me that the Knit and Stitch is in New York in the Mets Stadium. Oh my gosh, it'd be fun. And it's in Detroit, Leslie says. Oh my gosh. And Yona said they sold 400 tickets. Look, I think it'd be just so much fun. Like, make it 1,000 tickets and everybody would go. That would be so good. The video stopped on Facebook. Did it really? Oh, I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm having trouble with my internet. Sorry about that. Been and booked. Yay, Bernadette. It'd be so nice to see you again. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm just looking at all your comments. Oh, my gosh. You see? Sabrina says, it looks like Ethan's full day class is already sold out. Guys, it's 14 past 10, and I think you left that comment a few minutes ago. Okay. Barbara got the classes she was keen to do. She's thrilled. Yay. I'll take pics. Yes, please, Diana, take some pics. Hi, Sue from Southern California. Sue, do you feel like going to Knit and Pitch with Diane? She's also from Southern California, and no one wants to go to Knit and Pitch with her, but if you chat in the chat now, you might be able to find that you're near each other and you can go to Knit and Pitch together. There we go, Diane. I did it. Hi, Beth. You're in Minnesota. Fantastic. Christine's registered. Yay, great. It's going to be so good to see everyone. I really enjoy Knit August Nights. I think it's the highlight of my knitting year going there. Hi, Pauline from a cool South Australia. Oh, nice. I feel like it could be cooler here. It could be cooler. I'm wearing my Sweet Melody today. I just got on. Where is that? Sue. Diane, you'll have to tell her where the Stitch and Pitch is. Sue's asking now. So I'll leave that to you two to chat about. Sue is on YouTube. Diane, I think you might be on YouTube too. I think. I just go back and look. You can work this out together. Hang on a second. Just back here. I can't see where your comment is, Diane. I'm so sorry. There's too many comments now. Diane, you're also on YouTube. There we go. You can chat on YouTube. Oh, good. You're already doing it. It's so nice to see. What I wanted to tell you now as well is that, keep your eyes peeled. Oh, I was telling you about my top, wasn't I? This is Sweet Melody. She's a Wardrobe Toolbox pattern exclusive at the moment. She'll probably come out at the end of this year, I think. And I was so pleased with this top. She is a polished tee, right? She's got all these little beautiful details. She's got the little birds on her, and you know, that way. So you've got all the little birds. I love the little shoulder. She's like got like a little shoulder cap that goes into the sleeve. I really enjoyed doing all this. And then she has basically a set-in sleeve. And then we have these lovely little finishes around the cuff with a little piqué finish. Also is on the bottom. Piqué hem, these nice little hems rather than ribbing, and then around the neck we have this rather jazzy little neck band which you knit and then fold outwards and then stitch down, so you have that beautiful stitching around the neck. She just has lovely polished details, and I think she can really dress it, dress your outfit up. Or I made mine in a BFL silk, but you could make it in all sorts of summery fibres. And in fact, inside Wardrobe Toolbox, we have got a lesson all about summer yarns, which I brought out when I brought this top out. And so it's all about exploring different summer yarns and what you could use. Okie doke, let's just have a look. Yes, Ethan's class is sold out. Yes, it has, Wendy. Yeah, it seems to go pretty quick. The Yarn Over Truck used to do it after they shut down. Altered Stitch did it for another year. I didn't see it for 2024 or 25. I think you might be talking about the Stitch and Pitch again. Oh, hi Ivor from British Columbia. Oh, it's nice to see everybody from all over the world. Oh, great. Okay, well, great, but not great for you if you wanted to come. It sounds like my colour class is sold out already. Guys, it's only 18 minutes past 10. I told you, you have to be in quick if you want to get tickets to your preferred classes. They do go quickly. So Pop Blend Colour gone. So you could still do my Bust Boost class. If you want to do the Bust Boost, you'll find it super helpful. Super helpful. And if you're someone that struggled with getting yourself into a garment so that it fits you just the way you want, then you're going to really love this class, because you'll be able to pick up what you learnt and just put it into your sweaters. And you'll have a whole host of little tools that you could choose from. You go, oh, this time I'm going to use that one, and this time I'm going to use that one, and oh, I think I might use this one. And then you'll pop it into your sweater every single time. Hi Jess, nice to see you. You're knitting the first of my patterns, Alex, and you're so in love with the Skeins Eros yarn. It was definitely worth shipping to Florida. The pattern is so enjoyable as well. Oh, that is brilliant to hear, Jess, because I know the postage has been difficult lately, and I think I read that it was about $48 US to ship it. Look, that's about what we pay to get anything back here as well. And but the yarn itself is really quite inexpensive, and it is beautiful. I agree with you. I loved knitting the Eros. It has the tencel in it and the alpaca and merino. I think that's all the things in it. It's just lovely and soft, and it's not too heavy, is it? It's that lovely sport weight. I love that yarn. The Bust Boost class is awesome, says Barbara. Yes, you've done my Bust Boost class, haven't you, Barbara? And were you in the class? But you've learned it all through Wardrobe Toolbox. I can't remember if you had so many people in all those classes. I think you might have been. No, I showed off all your tops in that class, didn't I? I won't have your excellent tops to show off next time. Oh, I will actually, Barbara, because you're coming. So you could bring some of those tops for me. That would be fantastic, and I can show them off. Okie doke. What else did I want to tell you today? Couple more things. One is that this very pretty shawl, Anna's Dance, I seem to get in the habit of naming patterns is the hardest thing I do. I always want to think of like crazy names that would make me laugh, and I tell people and they go, I'm not sure you should call it that, and so then I get put off. But I don't know, you need things to make you laugh. And so anyway, I just got in the habit lately of having double-barreled names. I seem to have a whole run of double-barreled names. So I've had, we had Spring Fling, and then we had Sweet Melody, but before that we'd had Anna's Dance, and we had Freya's Echo, and then we had The Easy Breezy. That was 3 words. I think I might go for one short one next time. we'll see. And this is Anna's Dance, and she is a shawl that uses a single skein for the body, and then you go into this beautiful border and you use 8 other colors in the border. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, use 8 other colors in the border, and so you can use all your scraps. Now you could use 21 scraps if you want. 21 or I can't remember, 24, however many. Actually, there might be 7 in the border. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 colors used in the border 3 times. So there's 21 chances to use some color. It's a really good stash buster. The shawl will be out next week. I wanted to let you know because if you're not in the Truly Myrtle Hangout on Facebook, you might want to join. It's over at Facebook. Just look up Truly Myrtle at Facebook in groups, and you'll see the Knit and Chat Hangout. It's a free group, and there's over 5,000 people in that group, and they're all knitting Truly Myrtle things. It's the perfect Advent shawl. It is the perfect shawl for using Advents. I use little itty bitty. Some of mine were Advent scraps. Others were just itty bitty bits I had left over. I think I needed about 20 grams of each of these colors, but I use mine 3 times. So you can use a lot less if you're just going to use 21 different colors in yours. But over in the Hangout, we're going to run a knit along, and we've got a coloring in page for you. We've got all sorts of inspiration about colors and talking about putting colors together and just busting out of your comfort zone with your colors. And she's a nice, quick, easy shawl. For those of you in Wardrobe Toolbox who were there for season 9, you will have, or before, you'll have her in your library. And for everybody else, she'll be on sale next week. In order to get the discount, you'll need to be on my mini mag. So go to trulymyrtle.com/mini mag, and you can jump on my mini mag, and then you will get the discount code in your inbox next week. So that is Anna's Dance. I'll talk about her a bit more next week, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. She is coming next. Hi, Susan. You're back in Sydney from Wellington, New Zealand. Oh, you're back home. You bought some stash enhancements. You now have some Hanui wool to knit in 4-ply. Look from Wild Earth Yarns. Oh, that sounds lovely. I haven't had any. I've got some Hanui that I need to spin actually, Susan, but I haven't had any made into yarn yet. So this year I'm supposed to be using stash, but I have already broken that rule quite a few times, more times than I have used stash. So I think we're just safe to say that rules are made to be broken. That's what I've decided is 2025 is all about. Okay, I wanted to just turn to some of the questions that you'd left me over in Truly Myrtle. And if you have a question about knitting and you'd like me to answer it on the podcast, then just tell me what it is. And you can do that by going to trulymyrtle.com/ask. I'll have all the links to these below this video, and so you can find all these links, but needless to say, it's just trulymyrtle.com/ask, ASK, and you can fill in your question there, and it will come to me in a sheet, and I can answer it on the podcast. Now, if you are a Wardrobe Toolboxer, I will not be answering them quite as comprehensively as I do inside Wardrobe Toolbox, so I won't research everything before, and I'm going to answer questions, general questions, but also about Truly Myrtle patterns. And so I can't really answer questions about other patterns here so well. But if you ask me one about a Truly Myrtle pattern or something general about knitting or spinning, I don't know if I could be that much help to you with spinning, to be honest, but I could try. Or sewing, I could try. Then you could throw those questions in there. But if you want a really in-depth, all your numbers, nitty-gritty, helping you specifically kind of answer, put that into the Wardrobe Toolbox Q&A, and we've got 2 Q&As over there. You can ask over there or in our lounge over there, and they can be about any pattern. Wardrobe Toolboxes, any pattern at all, doesn't just have to be Truly Myrtle. And I do my best to help you with the other patterns, and I get my calculator out and I get all things up and I look up patterns and I look up techniques and all of that stuff. So this is a bit broader, but it gives you a nice taste about some questions that we answer in Wardrobe Toolbox, and it just means that I can give you a hand, because it's nice to give you a hand. Okay, the first question is from Gillian. And she says, how do you knit a swatch in the round? I think I'm going to show you on a needle I've got here. Look, I've got just handily got a needle here, which I was actually showing them in Wardrobe Toolbox the other day about joining two shoulders together and what it's going to look like. But I'll just pretend that this is a plain piece of knitting. You'll need to swatch in the round on a circular needle. And so I still recommend casting on as many stitches as I would for regular knitting, you know, just for a regular swatch, so a flat swatch I should say. And so I like to cast on about 40 stitches. Sometimes I cast on a bit more. If it's finer wool, I'll cast on a bit more, and if I'm going to do a swatch in the round, I often cast on about another 6 to 8, just so I have a little bit extra, because when I'm swatching in the round I quite like to do a little well, I'll tell you, there's two ways of doing it. One is that you carry your yarn, so you've got your stitches on your needle, right? And then you slide your stitches back to the beginning of your row again, all the way back. And then you bring your needles around like this. And then you carry your yarn from the back of your work right over to the front like that. And you leave it hanging, dangling at the back. And you want to give it a good dangle so that things don't get too tight. And then you just knit along the front again. So let me just get it out of the way. I've got a few ends here that might be confusing you. But I'll just knit back along. I have actually got a camera above my head here, and I use that when we're doing our Q&As in Wardrobe Toolbox. So that is very handy to show you my hands and to show you what I'm doing, but I haven't got it all set up for this. This is a different situation. Anyway, you knit along and you work your way back along the row, because you're always only knitting on the front, but you have this dangled yarn at the back. It just means that when you finish the row, I wonder if I could just quickly chat to you while I'm finishing the row. Once you finish the row, you slide your stitches back along to the front again. You slide your stitches back along to the end of your needle again. So you're as if you're going to start knitting on the front again. You don't never turn your work to the back, because when we're knitting in the round, we don't turn our work to the back. We only keep it on the front. We only knit on the front. So when you knit every row, it looks like stockinette. And if you want to do garter, you need to purl when you're doing knitting in the round. It's fun. I love knitting in the round. One thing to watch when you're knitting in the round, this is a much longer row than I was anticipating. One thing to watch when you're knitting in the round is your tension. And the reason I recommend doing a flat swatch and a swatch to knit in the round when you're working a top-down garment that is worked in the round, which everything will be at some point, even if it's a cardigan, you'll be doing it in the round for the sleeve. I think one thing to watch is your tension, and you just want to make sure that it's even between the flat and round, because it might get tighter when you're knitting flat, or it might get looser when you're knitting flat. It will all depend on what your purl stitches are doing. Right, so I've got to the end of my row again, and now I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to slide my work all the way back to the end of my needle, so I'm ready to start again. And you'll see I've now got this loop of yarn that goes round the back. You don't have to have your swatch. This is obviously would be a massive swatch. Aim to do it at least 6 inches wide, but I quite like 40 stitches, just because it gets you in a rhythm of things. So you just keep doing that. You loop your yarn and you start again, and at the end you end up with swatches like that. I don't think I've got one handy that I can show you, but you end up with a swatch. When you're finished, you just cast off. You always knit on the right side. You're always looping your yarn, and at the end you bind off, and then you have like a million strands of yarn. I can feel some of you already saying, what are we doing with all those strands of yarn? You're going to cut them. You're going to soak it and then cut them. Now there's a little bit of difference of opinion on that. If you do them long enough, you probably don't have to cut them, but then they're very long, and they do get, no, they're just long. I don't mind cutting mine because I like holding on to my swatches, so they'll just stay as a swatch unless I'm desperately short of yarn, and then I might have to use a swatch. But I just cut mine up the back and then just lay them flat once I've soaked them. Now there is another way to do it. If you are desperately short of yarn and you don't want to cut them, then you still slide your stitches along to the front again, because we still want to work on the front side, and then you take about depends on which way you knit, depends if you knit continental or English, but you take between 3.5 and 4.5 lengths of yarn. The more, the safer of your work. So you'd measure 1, 2, 3, let's say 4 lengths of yarn. So you have this long strand of yarn like that, and instead of looping it like this, you start knitting the length of yarn. So I've got this long loop here, and what I do is instead of knitting my yarn that goes to my ball, I actually knit the yarn back that is in that loop. And then when I get to the end, you just have to get yourself arranged properly before you start. I don't really like this way of doing it. I don't really do it this way, but I know people do. And if you are really short of yarn, it is a good thing to do. But you work your way. So I'm knitting the loop. You see? That's the bit I'm actually knitting. So I'll knit along to the end. Hopefully I've got enough. I think I did 4, didn't I? That hopefully is enough. The risk of this way is that you'll run out of yarn. Ugh. And there's nothing worse than running out of yarn, because either you have to go back, or it gets so tight at the other end that your tension is totally out because you're just working hard to make it work, and that defeats the whole purpose of doing a tension swatch. So you just have to make sure you've got enough for your length of yarn. Here we go. Ayana's saying, so question, do I do all those fancy time-saving swatches, this one, but I sometimes knit a baby hat circumference. I think I get a better idea of my gauge. Am I doing it wrong? No, definitely not doing it wrong. You knit to like 4.5 inches. I'd knit a little bit longer. That's the only thing I would say. Is just I'd probably knit a little bit longer. But you could do a small circumference. The only thing I would watch about doing a small circumference is that your tension is the same as if you're doing a big circumference, because it's not uncommon for us to become a little tighter when, look, I've got this much left to work my last few stitches. Here I go. Just get these other ones out of the way. It's not uncommon to get smaller with your, see, I'm right at the end now. I am at the end. I could have had a tiny bit more even, but this is actually fine. Just do that last stitch like that, and then what I'm left with like that, oh, too many ends, Libby, too many ends. There we go. I'm left with this at the end, so that sits at the end of my work where I've just finished. That is the little tail, and that just stays there. And then I do the same thing again. I slide it all the way back to the beginning again, back to here, and I do that all over again. I get 4 lengths worked out okay with a bit of a tail. So I get 4 lengths, and I knit the length, not to my ball, and then I end up with these. And so when I'm finished this kind of swatch, I have a whole lot of these left over at the other end. I think the downside, the reason I don't like it is because often I just end up getting in a bit of a kerfuffle with how much yarn I've got. So you really need to make sure you have enough yarn to get you to the end of the row. Otherwise, you're just going to be cursing. And then same thing, you bind it off, you block it. Well, I'd measure it before you block it, but you block it. And then when you're finished, if you want to unpick it, you can, because you haven't cut anything or ripped anything, right? You just knit the second time with the regular yarn end. Oh yeah, that is the other pain in the neck, is that you really, when you start, just make sure you're knitting that loop and not the end, because you just think, oh, for goodness sake, this is why people don't like swatching, you think, and actually it's not so bad. So that's what I would do. Now I do like when I'm doing the one in the round, or either of them actually, I mean the one with the loops, but either of them, I quite like starting my row on both and ending my row with a twisted knit, a purl, a twisted knit, and a purl. So I just go knit into the back loop, purl one, knit into the back loop, purl one, and then I go. And what that does is it just keeps your edges nice and tidy, and otherwise they kind of get a bit, well, they just fall apart. You can see how they start to look a bit fall apartery at the end. These are columns here that you don't want to be measuring because they're all collapsing on themselves. So that is essentially how you swatch in the round. Now I did that very quickly and awkwardly, I have got Inside Wardrobe Toolbox. For those of you who are in there, we have got a whole session on swatching, and I show you how to do both of those with my looking at my hands, and so you can see how to do both of those. Right, Barbara said her preferred way of swatching in the round is the second one because she's needed to use her swatch twice due to yarn chicken. If you're worried about yarn chicken, then that is the way to do it. Tracy says, what's my favourite sweater cast on method? I really do 3. Mostly 2, depending on what I'm working. I love a long tail cast on, but remember that the second row is a wrong side row, and it's quite a stretchy cast on. It's a not a loose cast on, but it's a stretchier cast on. A cable cast on is one I use a lot because it's quite a firm cast on, and a cable cast on adds a bit of structure to an otherwise structureless knit when you're knitting from the top down. So I quite like a cable cast on, but a cable cast on, the next row is a right side row. So just remember that when you're alternating. Those are the 2 I use the most. They're easy, and I find those easy to pick up into and easy to work, and they serve a purpose. Like I use them for a particular purpose depending on what I'm making. And the other one I like is a cable cast on. I like a German twisted cast on for a hat, but and a cable cast on goes straight into rib, and you can see there's going to be a difference between those 2. Cable cast on, a German twisted cast on is very stretchy. It's great for the bottom of a hat. It's more fiddly than a cable cast on, but a cable cast on adds a bit of firmness. So there's like, reasons for seasons. Is that the right phrase? I don't know if it is, but anyway, there are different things in different situations. So I just pick and choose depending on what I'm after, and that's half the fun of it for me. I really enjoy nutting out what is going to be a good solution in this situation, and I would love it if that's the kind of thing I think is fun for you guys if you fancy learning stuff. That's the fun thing is, what would be the best cast on? Do I like the cast on in this, or do I think I could do something a little bit better? Do I want more structure at the top of my raglan? I probably do. Want more structure at the top of my yoke? I probably do. Depending on the yarn you're using and depending on the size you're making and the amount of ease in it, there's all these other factors that will come into it. You've never done a swatch in the round, Susan. Aha, well now is the time to try. If you're going to be knitting a garment top down, then it's really helpful to do a swatch in the round, because what happens is that you do this part of a garment, no matter what, if you're doing a yoke, the only time you wouldn't do it, knitting flat, is if you're knitting a yoke and you join the circle and go down the yoke, or if you're knitting a raglan that joins at the top and then you work your whole way down the raglan. Otherwise, there is another way. If you're doing something where you don't separate the sleeves off, if you don't put the sleeves in later. I've probably just totally muddled you. Let me just think again. I've got a yoke, a yoke, jumper, sweater, a raglan, sweater, where you don't cast on for the neck. You just go straight into a circle and then do your raglan. A set-in sleeve where you've got a built set-in sleeve and you're knitting a jersey. You wouldn't be knitting flat for that either, unless you're building the neck. Is that all? Are those all the ones? I think those might be all the ones. Otherwise, you're going to be knitting some flat, usually to about here. And so, or at least to about here, you might be knitting flat. Would you be knitting to here? Most of you be knitting to here. And so you've got all the section here. What normally happens, typically what happens is you knit this bit flat, all good, it's all great, I've swatched flat, it's all working out beautifully. Here I get to here and then, oh crumbs, I change to in the round. And what happens? I've got this great big line right across my boobs, and then underneath I've got a totally different gauge. And you might not notice it when you're knitting it, but later you'll look in the mirror or you'll look at a photograph of your work and you'll think, what is that line? What has happened right here? There is a line in my work, and that is the difference between knitting flat and knitting in the round. So you want to get them as close as possible. It might mean that you really focus on your tensioning and you really focus on how you're knitting. You're building the stitch on the point of your needle. You're tensioning it on the barrel of your needle. You're not yanking it. You're using the barrel to tension. It might be that you focus on that. You might work at your pearls to keep them more similar to your knits, and it might change the direction of yarn that you're winding the yarn around. And you might also swap needle sizes, depending on if you're knitting flat or in the round. You might decide that actually I'll go down a needle size or up a needle size between those two. So it's a good experiment to do some swatching, and they don't have to be massive, just to work out, do you knit the same flat and in the round? Because that's what we're trying to find out. That's the purpose. It's not just an exercise of wasting time and money and yarn and just dithering before you get started. There is a really good reason for doing it. Michelle's saying she's noticed a noticeable gauge change between flat and in the round knitting, and her pearls are looser than her knits. That is so common, Michelle. It is so common. And I think I do think though, mine has pretty much gone now. And so you can focus. I focused on working on my pearls and thinking about my pearls and how I was knitting. And I think if you can focus on that, you can change what you're doing. But it does, you need to be remembering to do it. And also knitting a lot, I think, a lot. So it really gets in your brain. Drop shoulders and set-in sleeves have flat knitting. They do indeed. Drop shoulders and set-in sleeves. If you're not building the sleeve, off the body with increases down here into the sleeve, then you're going to have to knit flat. Oh, that's nice to hear, Sharon. She says, you've taught me the importance of swatching. Yeah, I don't do it just to be mean or fastidious or uptight. I'm really not. It will save you so much grief in the long run if you can do some swatches, and some of them can be really tiny. So I think you can. I was saying to something the other day. I saw someone the other day, and I've got a swatch on my desk, and I said, I'm just experimenting with this yarn. I just want to see if it's going to work for something that I'm thinking of. And she said, she didn't really get what I was doing. And I said, I just want to see how the yarn behaves. Like what kind of tension does it want to be? And so what needle size do I want to use for this yarn? Because, I'm trying to build a sweater from the fabric up. I'm making the fabric, so I have to like the fabric. And so you're taking it for a test run. Okay, how do I want this fabric to behave? And then you can build little pictures of what your sweater's going to look like with all your swatches. Kim says, and V-necks. Yes, absolutely. So if you're doing a V-neck, where you're not going to join in the round till down here, are you? So you've got all of this flat up here before your V-neck might even go down to here before you start actually going around and around. Barbara says, I love doing swatches now. It's so nice. We're all converted. It's good. We're nearly all converted. If you're sitting there thinking, I'm not converted, keep listening. I'll convert you. Eventually I'll convert you. It just means that your sweater will fit you. And I know we talked yesterday in our knit night about swatches lying. And that's another whole scenario when we're going on to knit then and we think our swatches lied. Okay, I've got another question here. This is from Anne Marie. She says, my hands sometimes get tired after a lot of knitting English style. I can knit continental, but I haven't mastered the purling. I find the purling awkward too, actually, Anne Marie. She said, I discovered Portuguese knitting recently, which makes purling look really easy. Would it be okay if I use them interchangeably for a stocking stitch project? What's your opinion? Is Portuguese knitting like Norwegian? Is the Norwegian purl, for those of you who are avid continental knitters, is the Portuguese purl like a Norwegian purl? Because in my head, I think it is. To me, that is a much easier purl. And I know there are lots of you who chat to me and you say, I just forced myself to learn continental and I just got into it. And I have tried doing that, but I just still find I'm just so much faster when I knit my way. And so because I always seem to be trying to get knits off my needles quickly, then I haven't spent the time to do a change. My feeling, Anne Marie, is that yes, I think it would be absolutely okay. I definitely think it would be okay if you use them interchangeably. However, You just want to make sure that you're about your tension. That's the only thing that I would say that you need to watch is your tension. And so your stitches might get bigger and smaller. Your pearls might get bigger and smaller depending on what's happening with your the way you're doing them. In fact, what might happen is your knits get bigger, because for some of them they will scooch some of the extra yarn that we're using in the pearl will get scooched into the knit, and so you just might find that your tension gets a bit wobbly. If you can swatch and choose one method for a garment, so you could say, okay, for this garment I'm going to use no one's answered me about the Norwegian or the Portuguese, but whichever method of pearl, I'm going to use my regular knit, and then I'm going to use the Norwegian or Portuguese pearl, and I'm going to do it for the whole knit. I feel like it would be worth committing to that, and then in another knit do another one within the same knit. Well, I guess you just need to do an experiment and see. If I would do 2 swatches, one using Norwegian pearl or Portuguese pearl, and one using your regular pearl, and they don't have to be very big. I would do exactly the same number of rows and exactly the same number of stitches and compare them, and compare the difference between them. One might be a bit different size to the other, and if it is, you'll know that your pearls are going to be different. The other thing you could do is you could do 2 little squares that big, and you could do one that's in Portuguese pearl, the whole thing, just pearl the whole thing, cast on, 17, 10, 20 stitches, 17, 15, whatever, not many stitches. Knit the whole thing Portuguese pearl, both rows, both sides, and then bind off. And then the other one, knit the whole thing in your regular pearl. And those 2 little squares should be identical. They should be. But if they're not, you'll know that one is bigger than the other. And that's the only thing I would think would be the issue. But if you either figure out that yours are the same, or you decide I'm committing to one and then the other, depending on what I'm working on. So if you have 3 or 4 projects on the go, you might have a note in your bag and it says, don't forget, in this project I'm working Portuguese pearl, and you say, don't forget, in this project I'm working a regular pearl. Then you don't have to sit for weeks doing one. You could swap back and forth between projects. That might be an easier option at first. Amanda says, purling took me a while to master. I think I do mine different to others. That wouldn't really surprise me, Amanda, actually, if you did. It definitely feels like swatching territory. It does. Portuguese knitting is tensioned around the back of your neck. Oh, is that the difference? The mechanism of it, Claire, is it similar, or is it just the way we tension it around our neck? Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, as long as, if you're going to use them in the same project, that they match. Otherwise, perhaps save them for different projects, but it would be quite good to check it out. You could also do English purling with continental knitting if your tension allows. That's something to think about, actually. Yeah, that's something to think about with swapping it out, so you actually just change your knit rather than your but you'd have to change hands, wouldn't you, Amanda? Wouldn't you have to change hands with your thing? I don't know. You probably have to do it anyway if you're doing you'd just be wrapping. In fact, you'd be just wrapping differently. If you're doing English knitting, then you're tensioning in your right hand. Now, stop and think about this. But you're just going to be wrapping your yarn differently. It can also be tensioned with a ring or a necklace. Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. So I think tension would be my main issue. And but if you are going to swap, now I stop and think about it a little more, you could either do Eastern method, so you wrap the yarn around the other way, or you actually physically put the yarn in your other hand, which might be tricky if you're knitting English, unless you want to go totally continental and back, in which case there's a few swatches to be had to see how different you're at. You have to turn your knitting anyway. That's true. I was just thinking if you're doing rib, or a patterning that required pearls and knits in the same row. So there's a few things to think about with it, actually. Oh, somebody here. Daria says, I like to knit backwards instead of purling when I have to knit flat. There is no purling. I use different muscles. Someone just drove up our driveway, did a twirl, and then left. So that's weird. Maybe we're not the people they think we are. Okay, I like to knit backwards. Instead of purling when I have to knit flat, there is no purling, and I use different muscles for every row, so no cramps. A win-win. Oh, Daria, that's an idea. Definitely. Well, there we are. Look, that's another idea for you, Anne-Marie, that maybe you could think about. Thank you, Jennifer. She loves the top I'm wearing, and I'm wondering if Tracy's comment about birds, what kind? Well, I think they might be seagulls, actually. That's the ones they look most like, seagulls. That's in my head what they are. So, it's a summer top. It's a whole flock of seagulls. That could be what they are. It's called Sweet Melody, this top. Susan says, I often do English purl and continental knit in the same project with good results. Brilliant. So there's just a few things to think about. Once you know exactly what you want to do, Anne-Marie, then you can practice to see what size your stitches are, work out how you can make them similar. It might be, for example, that if you're knitting back and forth and they're quite different on continental, the Portuguese than the regular purl, that you actually just swap your needles out for those rows, and you say, but you just have to remember to put them back, so that you could do a section with the purling on a different size needle for one part, and then a section with the purling on a different size needle for another part, and just remember what you're doing and keep copious notes of what you're doing. Okie doke. I'm going to go. I've got a couple more questions, but I'm going to answer those next time. If you have any more questions for me, pop them over at trulymyrtle.com/ask. Don't forget to jump on the mini mag list at trulymyrtle.com/mini mag. You can do that. Come and join us over in the Hangout. It's our free group on Facebook. And what else am I going to tell you? Oh, don't forget, if you want to get into your class for Khan, you better do it right now. It's 10:52 and the tickets went on sale at 10, and I've already heard that one of my classes is sold out, and so has Ethan's masterclass. I don't know about any others, but if you want to get into my Bust Boost class, and I'm pretty sure you do, then you might want to go and sign up now. All right, everybody, I will catch you later. Do lots and lots of happy knitting. Start rummaging through the stash. Go through those baskets with all those tiny balls, and then let's get ourselves ready to do some fun, colourful knitting and just bust that out next week. And I will talk to you soon. All right, everybody, happy knitting. Bye.